Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
and me, Banshee. And this is your Weird Week. Sadly, we kind of had our own weird week last week. We were down. Our internet was kaplooey. We didn't have anything in place to stream. So we didn't do a lot of our shows. Mr. O finally was able to get a goth tarot up, and his emotional exchanges, of course, came after our internet came back on.
Exactly. And it just seemed like, things were at minimal service. But here's the story. We're going to start off fresh with this week's episode of Your Weird Week. We're just going to lay out the cards and go to it. We might talk a little bit about what's going on in the world.
Well, 2 weeks have gone by, and I'm not sure I can pinpoint the relevancy of these cards that we had at the moment. But, we can talk about what is happening in the world right now that might be of concern and might show up in this week's cards. And a couple of things that happened clearly. There was a major disaster in Morocco. A major earthquake there. Over 2,000 now people are confirmed dead, and it looks as though there's just a lot of critical injuries. So clearly they're still looking for survivors or bodies, so that count can change. It was definitely devastating. Aside from the lives lost, a lot of property damage. Cities were considered leveled. It's a really bad situation. Other things that have been going on, Mr. O, the G20 summit went on, and mysteriously enough, Russia and China were not there. Well, I don't know. There could be a number of reasons for that. Maybe some of this will come up. Russia and China are both banking on BRICS taking off and being a system, a monetary system that will compete with the G20 in a way. China, I read an article somewhere that said they're just fed up with the status quo, the world status quo, and they want to shake things up too. And President Xi has not been appearing at summits lately. He did not go to the G20, and he did not, if he went, he was very low key at the BRICS thing.
Exactly.
Also, I'm seeing more and more conspiracy theories concerning Prigozhin and whether he's really dead or alive, or if he himself went into hiding. I'm hearing all kinds of theories, and so I'm just going to keep an open mind on all of that. But for now, I go with the common wisdom that Prigozhin was killed by Russia. I'm trying to think about anything else. Of course, there's always something going on in Trump world, and, with the political climate in the U.S. Mark Meadows just lost his bid to make the case federal. And there's been, at least last week, there was at least one day where 5 decisions came down against Donald Trump that were, not good. He lost to E. Jean Carroll suit.
Another defamation,
right. And a judgment's going to come in that of compensation in December or January. And Rudolph Giuliani, there was something about him. What was it?
Well, I know that Trump was having a big fundraiser for him.
Yeah.
And so the conspiracy theory is that he's the one he wants to keep in his best graces the most, because he's not offering to do similar fundraisers for some of the other co-indicted conspirators.
If it was Rudy Giuliani, there was something else that I really wanted to mention. Maybe it'll come out when we do the cards, because I don't want to spend a lot of time. But I will say, before I go on, I will say that, a lot happened there. I think it was about one of the Trump cases, actually, that was decided, but now I can't think of what it was. There was several judgments that went down. Oh, no, it was about Rudy Giuliani, I'm sorry. He apparently lost the case in the litigation in Georgia, kind of by default, where those 2 election workers were suing him for damages for ruining their lives. The judge just said, with his admission and, of guilt in a way, the way he came out with it initially, there's no need for a trial, and they're going to move right on to what Mr. Giuliani owes those two as part of their victory in their lawsuit against him. So lots of things happened.
All right, so...
I know, I got the wrong deck in my hand.
Yes, I know.
Tell me. All right.
Well, our first card then, we're going to begin this reading, is from the... I forget, the Twin Tarot?
The Twin Tarot Oracle. It's an oracle because it's only a double major arcana set. And so there is an upright version of the major arcana and a reversed version. And our first question will be, Mr. O.
What is the major focus for this week?
Let's see what we have. Hopefully we'll have very few of these kind of disruptions in the future where we won't be able to keep up week to week with what's going on. We'll just have to see.
So what is the theme or tone or the overall focus?
Yes.
Card 1.
Well, it's the reversed Chariot.
Oh, nice.
Take a look at that card.
Yeah.
Looks kind of ghoulish, doesn't he? Looks kind of evil.
The reversed Chariot. Well, the focus may find us to be in a way, or someone who is important perhaps is not in control. They're not in the driver's seat, so to speak, or that there may be seeing a sense of ambitions being thwarted, or people feeling that something is pulling things apart rather than uniting them for the goal.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective there, Mr. O, because, right, we have the black horse, the white horse. We have this trying to rein people in together. And, of course, when the Chariot's reversed, it's more about pulling them apart. So is somebody actively moving to pull people apart? That's one theory that I have. But another one is also, the Chariot really is about inertia. So this pulling people apart could be causing a real quagmire, a real state of inertia in some way. It comes to mind a little bit here, I hate to say, it's not even anything I've talked about, but some buzz has been being made lately about a certain senator in the United States that's withholding military appointments. And, it's literally breaking up the military leadership. It's destroying our readiness. And so, is this one of these situations where this person thinks they have good intentions, but, it's just spreading, it's just destroying things.
Well, on a more general level, some of this could talk about maybe the political divide in a way.
Absolutely.
The fact that nobody wants to give a quarter towards the other side to work on the real solutions that we really need, where we really need somebody to kind of come forward as a leader, but there's nobody really to unite around.
And, because it could even be about the Ukraine war, and
Sure.
The divide's getting deeper. And, of course, I've heard news recently that hasn't made super headlines. So, I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but I'm throwing it out there that a Russian general has alluded to the fact that Ukraine, gaining control of Ukraine is only step one of where they plan to go. They plan to go deeper into Eastern Europe. They plan to possibly be going after a NATO country. I'm thinking Romania, I'm thinking Poland, there's places like that they want to bring back into the Russian Empire. And, this is really causing a lot of imbalance, if not inertia. And I do feel that positive initiatives, are at a standstill related to a lot of these issues that we're talking about.
Right, it could be talking about climate change or any number of issues.
Right. Instead of, being divided by war, politics, power struggles, etc. So, Mr. O, what's the second card going to be?
It's from the Secrets Tarot, what we will find out or see, or what we could possibly find out and see. What are the mysteries?
Oh, boy. And let's remember that Mercury is still retrograde this week. Sigh. Till Friday. What you got? Jeez, oh.
It's the Tower. And it's upright. So what we may find out that some adversity awaits us, and that pride or ego may be at risk here. And it's important to maybe understand that there's something very important to learn or know about this. That's the actual mystery, is what is it we should be taking away from this?
You know, it's really hideous because I also see, in a sense here with this inertia, stagnation, death, and earthquake.
Oh my goodness.
I know. But, you know, I'm not sure it is speaking on that, but I can't ignore that. That just looks like wow. But I will say this, you know, so what we'll find out or see is that maybe there has some destruction, some breakdown has to occur in order for, you know, lessons to be learned and hopefully learned. When the tower is upright, usually lessons are learned. We will learn from this. You know what I could also think of here, Mr. O, is the great divides in the American auto industry right now. You know, this could be the inertia and stagnation of plants closing. And when plants close like that, other associated businesses have to lay off and shut down production too that depend on the auto companies for their business. So this is what I'm saying here. Something may break down and lessons will be learned from this. What kind of lessons? I don't know.
That's a very interesting tie-in there with what's going on with the unions. I really like that because both of those cards kind of talk to the idea.
And Chariot.
But a moment ago, you said something about the earthquake in Morocco, and I'm thinking, well, maybe what we could find out was that, you know, a lot of construction that was affected was faulty for some reason. Maybe things were done in a cheaper manner or whatever. This couldn't be the entire country, but maybe some important things were, or there is some sense of something going on where the regulatory process was not adhered to properly.
Well, I really have to amend that just a little bit, Mr. O. Morocco is an ancient country. They have many historical and ancient buildings, and they probably were not, you know, built to withstand some of this kind of pressure. And the mountainous region where some of this had occurred, you know, so avalanche, things falling on top of things. I'm sure some of that must have happened as well. Not that I'm discounting that that doesn't play a role in some things, but, you know, it's a rather, there are a lot of historic sites there.
You know, what's interesting to note is somebody said that no earthquake of this kind of magnitude had hit that particular area in a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember for sure, but it could have been many hundreds of years.
It's at least a few hundred years, I'm not sure. Or 100 years, I think. But whatever the case may be, it's not common. And they were not prepared.
The scope.
And, yeah.
So I guess we will move on to card 3. What other perspectives need to be considered? And that's from the Tarot of Oppositions.
Which we both shuffle.
The deck we both shuffle because we both own it.
Okay, so that card was the Tower upright. Oh my goodness.
I like what you said about the labor unrest. I think that's a very interesting point.
And, you know, the writers and everybody is still on strike in other industries. I don't know what's going on here, and I don't know who's going to learn the lesson. Is labor going to be beat down by corporate America once more? Or is corporate America going to give a bit more? You know, labor's asking for a lot as far as the UAW strike goes. I can't speak to the writers and the actors, but I do know that, you know, they have a lot of major concerns too. And I'm not sure that the, you know, the corporations are willing to give on it. Ultimately, it's we American people, and sometimes in the world, depending on the markets, etc., that are affected by all of this, that, you know, are hurt. All right.
No
need to yawn on me. There you go. It's reversed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the reversed Four of Cups.
Oh, wow, we had... Well, no, that was in the Where Does It Hurt? We had that. I remember. Now, was it for the world? I think it might have been.
It might have been.
Interesting. All right, so what other factors need to be considered? Perspectives. Boy, that looks pretty barren as far as, a Four of Cups goes. It just seems a little bit more harsh than my usual interpretation. But I would say this, that it just seems as though we missed the ball on something here. Maybe there were opportunities to not have to go through this, and we've just missed the opportunities. Perhaps, for example, as far as the strikes go, I'm just going to throw that out there since we were last talking about that maybe, if management really was fair with the unions, not just giving these one-time little bonuses, but how about bringing back some of the stuff they took away, that union members sacrificed during bad economic times in the past. I mean, even if they could have given some of that back or given more money in between here, more than just their once-a-year bonuses, doing something that really made a difference, that would be, some of this could have been avoided. And maybe there's still an opportunity to do that, but they need to really carefully consider their options and what this all means to them.
Well, I think it's weighing towards the idea that there's going to be hard choices that will affect everybody, but it will probably affect those who it shouldn't the most, the people who already are having a harder time of things. And I think this is across the board with labor or union kind of disputes in general, or situations where we're talking about equalities and equanimities.
Well, and I think here, again, if we want to just broaden this, because we're really not sure, even though it looks pretty, much like we're talking about labor here, this could be in other areas. There's inertia and trouble for Mr. Trump as well. He's been losing ground in some of these cases. Some of his people are getting broke by being tried. They may turn against him, and there it is. The tower that's built on a shaky foundation. Some hard lessons are going to be learned here. And, options are running dry, right?
Yeah, it may be that some people will get better offers than other people if they're going to be useful one way or the other to the defense or the prosecution.
Think about this in terms of what Russia's doing right now, what China's doing right now. I'm not ready to commit to any one thing yet. I'm leaning towards the unions, but I think there's plenty of pain to go around right now.
Even in climate control, it may be that not everybody's going to be ready or able to make the same choices. And we know that, a lot of people who are invested in the fossil fuels, they're going to be the most likely to want to avoid making the most changes, or the changes that are the most needed.
It's funny you mentioned that, Mr. O, because, at the G20, I heard that climate change, it didn't exactly get a total cold shoulder, but it was pretty minimized there. They really, all they could agree to say was, yes, we're all going to be into clean energies, but nobody talked about limiting fossil fuel at all. So there you have it. Anyway. All right.
Card 4.
All right. Can you give me a second?
Sure. I'll just mention that it is coming from your deck, the Healing Light Tarot, and position 4 is all about what does all this mean towards the idea of an overall impact. Where does this seem to be leading us, or what is this impact that seems to be about to be grokked or understood?
The overall impact is going to be interesting. All right. Wow, this is like a pretty deep reading to come back to do here. And the other reading was so positive and light I really am not even sure what it could have equated to in the last couple of weeks. Was there any shining light thing that happened in the world that I'm not aware of? All I know is we had a horrible Mercury retrograde. Oh dear, now I gotta do one more. It's the surface. I should do it there. And the thinness of the cards. If I'm going to shuffle here, I got to use thicker cards. Sorry, Healing Light Tarot, you're not thick enough. Give me that. Oh my goodness sakes. Well, we will find out or see. It's the Five of Pentacles.
What is the overall impact?
That's what I meant, the overall. Oh, even worse.
It's another tower?
It's the Five of Pentacles.
Oh, the Five of Pentacles. Whoops.
Upright. Wow.
The overall impact suggests
pain.
That some of us really feel very alienated from almost everything or from any process that seeks to kind of pull us back together. They're not having it.
In relation to the strike, that could be, or striking, that could be, and I don't know that the deadline's next week. It might be after that, but whatever the case may be, it's getting close. You know, there's pain. There is pain for the workers. Sure, they have a union slush fund, you know, to rely upon for a while. They may have some paycheck coming in from their last pay cycle, whatever the case may be. But, you know, they're going to start feeling a world of hurt. Auto companies are going to start feeling a world of hurt. The associated companies are going to start, affiliated companies are going to start feeling a world of hurt. Employees and people, stockholders, shareholders, everything might be starting to go tanking, you know, depending on decisions that are reached. If it's the war effort, if it's what's going on in Ukraine and other places, well, pain. Pain is being felt, you know. Even Ukraine's been taking some of this war to the Soviet Union now, and I think it's affecting some of the people there, shattering their sense of security.
Right. It really looks like it's almost all of the world in a way, because there are so many places and situations where it feels like the haves and the have-nots, or the unequalness between positions, is glaring.
Yeah, and you could just really look at almost any scenario. If we're talking about the Trump situation and all those trials, this is about the money. You know, think about all the money that is being spent and squandered. And some people would ask, is it worth it? Well, you know, same thing could be said about medicine and taking medicines that cost tens of thousands of dollars. Is it worth it? If it saves your life, yes. If it preserves democracy and justice, yes. But of course, the people who are involved in this, they're feeling their pennies being pinched, I'd say. Sorry, you have anything else to add?
No, there's not a lot to add. I think we want to see what happens during the week.
What will come of it? What wins or loses the weird week?
The possible strategies or outcomes. And for that, I use the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot.
Yeah, I can even still see the earthquake here too. You know, and you think about that chariot and, you know, backward movement, or thinking about the earth moving, the chariot sputtering, buildings collapsing, options running dry and hurting. It's a very tight reading. I mean, as far as flow goes. So what are you going to mess it up with?
It's the Knight of Hearts, Cups.
Wow, do we need that or what? We need a knight in shining armor to come through and spread love throughout the land.
Well, we need to return to love, for sure. We need to return towards more compassionate feeling about our fellow humans. This is movement, or the movement towards an affair of the heart. in this overall context, it's got to be talking about trying to find that one big Band-Aid that you could put around the world and say, okay,
it's all going to be okay now. Well, what a happy ending to what looks to me to be pretty dismal reading. You know, there's somebody here who has a lot of heart, who has a lot of character, you know, who is doing the right thing. So is this attorneys and what they're up against? Is this judges and what they're up against? Is this, what else did I want to say? Is this some arbitrators or some mediators in the strike that are doing the right thing?
Is it the spirit of fairness?
Imbuing everybody. Why do I want to sing Kumbaya right now?
You're alone on that
one. Well, you know, I just hope it's true. Do you want to start recapping this?
All right, so we started off with the Chariot reversed, and we think that means that there's just really a lot of divide in terms of what the goals or the outcomes should be.
Well, I also think that it could just mean that because of that, there's inertia. And there's other things that maybe are more important, you know, but we can't get to them because of this, you know. Everybody's splintered off, divided, can't pull themselves together to make the right decisions. Or it just could be that, you know, some people right now are experiencing inertia. And I think in terms of, you know, some of the legal things that have been falling apart for the Georgia case, etc.
The inertia could be based on the fact that there's no clear one way to bring anything together.
And then, of course, we have the Tower in what we will find out or see. And I think we're going to see that something was built on very shaky foundations, you know, that something may have to come down in order for us to gain some knowledge and wisdom. And it almost does sound like a crisis of some sort, you know, or like I said, a strike. There's a breakdown. There's a breakdown in communications, and they're going to have to start to build that up in order to fix things.
And in a way, there's no honest partners here, which is kind of showing there. And that's the perfect prescription for pride goeth before a fall, that somebody will really have to be hobbled a little bit before they can maybe learn their lesson.
Which could lead us back to the Trump case again. So,
yes, it could.
So, you know, even the war with Ukraine, a lot of ego and puffing and power stuff going on there. So, you know, what is this one again? Oh, what other perspectives need to be considered? And we do look at both sides of this card. You know, I lean more heavily to what comes up on top when I read it. But, and so I'm going to say that it just seems like we've missed opportunities where some of this could have been avoided. And I think here that's the perspective we need to see. Boy, if we could have only acted sooner. Boy, if we could have only considered this sooner. Oh, you know, and that there may still be opportunities, but, you know, it's really hard to get everybody now on the same page to accept that.
This is kind of broad because we're talking about maybe a number of industries and a number of players there. And so the negotiations and the things that are being offered may not be uniform. Some people may be able to do better and some people may not.
Well, and we're not just talking about the strike here, too. It's in, you know, broad. And what's the next one again?
The next one is, what is the overall impact?
That's right, the overall impact. 5 of Pentacles, poverty, despair, health issues, loss, you know, again, you can see why I said maybe the earthquake and maybe this is massive humanitarian efforts here when we get to that night. But, you know, I also feel here that it fits all these other scenarios. You know, there are people hurting for money. There will be in a strike. There are no winners when people strike. There's only a win when everybody can come together. And if it could be avoided, you know, like this card we should have done, then it should have been done. So yeah.
I think that a lot of the 5 cards in each suit sort of have that binary quality when it's flipped around. And so I think what we're seeing here is that just as there are people in pain and suffering, there are other people who maybe are not. And are they the key, or are they supposed to try and help out?
Are they the bug? Are they the feature?
There you go.
And ultimately, our Savior approaches. The Knight of Cups.
I don't know that it represents a person per se, but I think it really is talking about the idea of a spirit of compassion kind of having to help. And if it doesn't, then it's not going to be.
Right. You know, we need to take more compassion, more understanding. We need to enter all these situations with love, you know, and there's just an awful lot of hate and you know, people who are not accepting each other anymore. You know, it's not even a matter of tolerating people. There's a lot of intolerance. It's just a big mess right now, and we need the absolute opposite here, which is depicted by the Knight of Cups. And if there's somebody out there, you know, who holds the key in one of the situations we've been talking about, then so be it. You know, we have somebody rushing in to save the day. Here I come to save the day.
All right, Banshee.
All right. So, hey, want to thank everybody for joining us today. That's what we have. Now, hopefully, we will be back as scheduled next week so we can look at these cards and determine what happened in the last weird week. So until then, stay tuned till we come back for another Your Weird Week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.